Good afternoon, and welcome to our fourth session of our Managing Stress During Times of Uncertainty workshop series. I am Nisha Brown, proud to serve as your coordinator in the Office of Student Affairs here at Tri-C's Metro campus. And today I am joined by our counseling lecturer, Sue Dietrich, as well as our assistant professor and counselor, Ms. Deborah Drain. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Let me tell you a little bit about each presenter. So counseling lecturer Sue Dietrich has served over 20 years experience as a licensed professional clinical counselor. Her experience includes working with a wide range including adults, family, and children in a variety of mental health agencies serving domestic violence victims, chemically dependent clients, and severely mentally disabled clients, with experience covering many issues including depression, anxiety, trauma, grief, divorce recovery, relationships and parenting, serving a diverse client base. Sue is currently a counseling lecturer, again, in the Counseling and Psychological and Student Accessibility Services Department here at the Metro campus. Also, we have again Ms. Deborah Drain. She is a counselor and assistant professor here at the Metro campus. She has been employed here for 6 years here at Tri-C. She has worked in higher education for 21 years, of which include employment at the following institutions: Ashland University, Bryan and Stratton College, and John Carroll University. Ms. Drain considers her educational journey through Tri-C as beneficial in her being able to identify with many of our students. She began right out of high school and dropped out after one semester to work a part-time job. When she returned to Tri-C 24 years later, she was a wife, mother, and full-time employee with a few transfer credits from here and there. Educationally, she holds an Associate of Arts degree from Tri-C, a Bachelor of Business Management from Ursuline College, a Master of Education in Adult Learning and Development from Cleveland State University, and a Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling from John Carroll University. Ms. Drain is also a licensed professional counselor through the state of Ohio. So today, our workshop will cover mindfulness and stress management techniques, and we'll share some of those demonstrations today. This workshop does not provide any treatment advice. This workshop merely assembles the evidence compiled and analyzed by others. More importantly, mental health conditions are complex. People differ widely in their conditions and responses, and interactions with other conditions and treatments are best evaluated by a qualified mental health professional. Therefore, if any material presented causes you to experience any discomfort, you should contact a mental health professional immediately. So for our live audience, we thank you today again for joining us. Take notes and save your questions that you may have for the end of our workshop today during our Q&A session, and we'd like you to come up and share those. To our virtual audience, same. Please enter your questions and comments in the chat, or you can email them to nisha.jones@tri-c.edu, and we will also share those during our Q&A session today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Drain.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Deborah Drain, and today we will be talking about mindfulness and stress management. We'll also be talking about the benefits of deep breathing. And we're going to have a demonstration of deep breathing and muscle relaxation. So hopefully you'll join us when we get to that part in experiencing those demonstrations. Mindfulness. Here's a definition we found that we liked. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. And we took that from berkeley.edu. But when it says a gentle, nurturing lens, what we're saying is we're going to be aware of our thoughts, but not criticize our thoughts. We're going to know that it's normal to have our thoughts kind of wander, but not beat ourselves up. Just gently refocus our thoughts on whatever we're being mindful about. So mindfulness, the term has been around a long time, and it used to have a connotation of being something you practiced in a certain religion, and compare it with yoga, chanting, and all those other things. Well, Western culture has adopted mindfulness as meaning being present. Whatever you're doing, you can just focus on that one thing, and it helps in stress management, it helps with focusing, and it helps you to be more productive, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Mindfulness is a pretty common term now, so I even heard a doctor talk about eating mindfully. Now, what does that mean? I take a bite and then I'm chewing. Okay, it tastes good. And now, okay, I'm gonna swallow. Just the experience. And they say that that can help you control how much you eat, because you're actually experiencing eating instead of just, wolfing down food and you don't know what it tasted like. So you're going to get some more. Benefits of mindfulness. It really can help reduce anxiety and stress, or the effects of anxiety, or stop you from being so anxious. You can practice mindfulness at any time. It doesn't have to take, 30 minutes out of your way. What you're doing is being aware of where you are. I'm going to give you an example from yesterday's drive home during rush hour. This big white truck cut me off. I'm driving along and I'm like steaming mad. It wasn't even necessary. There was nobody behind me, and I could feel like my blood pressure rising. And then I remembered this presentation and the mindfulness, and I'm like, okay, you're looking at that truck in front of you. Look where you are right now. Look where your car is. Don't pay attention to that truck. And I found myself calming down. And so that's a choice that you can make at any time, is to be mindful of what you're doing at that present time and declutter your mind. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Mindfulness can also help reduce symptoms of depression. A lot of times we're depressed. The thought of something can make us depressed. But normally It's the thought of something that's going to happen in the future. And so we're worrying about something or dreading something that we have to do, and we've spent more time being depressed or anxious or stressed about it than it takes to actually do the thing that we have to do. And I find that true with myself, and I'm like, I could have had it done by now. But if I'm mindful about where I am, if I'm resting, just enjoy that rest and know that when the time comes, you have to do whatever that task at hand is. Mindfulness also helps increase emotional regulation, self-control. We can choose to react to something without thinking, or we can be mindful and know where we are, who we're talking to, how much control we have over the situation, all of those things, and react accordingly. And that's emotional regulation. And we talked about in one of the other workshops about how children, small children, are taught emotion regulation when they act out or have a temper tantrum and they wind up not getting what they want or have a consequence involved. So then they learn to regulate their behavior, right? And that's what we mean by emotional regulation. I put cognitive improvement here because we're talking about thinking and the brain and all of that. And one of the things about mindfulness is it helps us to be more productive and focus on what we're looking at. Let's use a math test as an example. Everybody's favorite, right? So you can look at the whole math test and be totally stressed out and have almost an anxiety attack if you have this a math phobia or feel overwhelmed by there's so many different types of problems. Or practicing mindfulness, you can look at one problem at a time. Those other problems are over there, but right now you're focused on this one problem. In fact, you can break that problem down into this one formula. Now, the next, and not the whole test. When you are taking some sort of exam or studying, if you think about everything and become overwhelmed, your mind can go blank, right? Because that stress is taking up that space. The same is true if we have a busy job, but there's a whole lot of deadlines. If you are thinking about all of the deadlines, then you are not being mindful and probably not being very productive. So with this diagram, it shows a mind that's full and someone being mindful. Which one would you rather be? The mind that's full has a lot on their, I'll say plate, but a lot in their mind. They cannot enjoy the scenery as this mindful person is. Maybe this is everything this person has to do. Maybe there's some things that have happened to them. Maybe they're definitely overwhelmed, right? They are walking at the same pace as the mindful person, but they're not enjoying the experience, I wouldn't imagine. The mindful person is the one that can say, okay, for right now, I'm taking a relaxing walk, and oh, look at those trees. The sun is shining. So you can spend time And even on vacation and not have a good time because you're worried about everything else. You know, you ever take your cell phone to vacation? What about when you go out to dinner and you look over at a table and everybody's on their cell phone? They're not interacting with each other. They're not being mindful, enjoying the experience. Yeah, you can say you went out to dinner and yeah, you ate. What did you have? I don't know. You know, forgot. So that's one of the benefits of mindfulness is to clear clutter out of your brain. You can do that. It's easier said than done. But you can do that by making a list, right? I call it a brain dump. If I've got everything in my head that I need to do and I'm overwhelmed, so I can't do anything, or I'm touching various things and nothing's being completed, do a brain dump. Put it down on paper. Take a look at it. And then prioritize it. And then practice that mindfulness. Focus on that one thing. You know some other deadlines are looming, but for right now, I'm going to complete this one task. So I think this picture will probably go up on a wall in my office or my house so I can remember that I can either have a full mind, be mindful, or I can be mindful. In practicing mindfulness, the breath has a lot to do with it. If you notice, when you start to practice mindfulness, you'll find yourself breathing more in a relaxed way, not hyperventilating or, rushing around taking short breaths. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to bring the breath into the mindfulness with the demonstration. So breathing deeply helps you think better. You would think that it wouldn't make that big of a difference, but it has a calming effect. And the more you breathe deeply, the more you can separate things that are like that last picture and that mindful picture. And therefore, it helps you solve problems. And you find yourself walking away or actually enjoying the experience of even doing the work because you got a nice breath. Sometimes people even stop breathing and then they have to remember to breathe. That's one of the telltale signs for me when I'm experiencing some sort of anxiety is I'll find myself catching my breath. Like, oh my goodness, I wasn't breathing. So that's a sign where I'm self-aware that I do need to practice mindfulness or address whatever it is that has me feeling that way. So deep breathing can also benefit you physically. You will see with our demonstrations as well where you can find your muscles relaxing. It can help you get rid of a headache if it's a tension headache. It can help you say, even to yourself, I want to go take a walk. I'm just going to enjoy. And that walk helps you physically, right? It helps bring down your blood pressure. There are a lot of benefits to breathing. No, a lot of benefits to deep breathing. And with that, I'll invite Ms. Dietrich to the podium. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sue Dietrich, and I'm just going to get us going right on. We're still going to be talking about deep breathing, but just a little more information about a couple FYIs. So proper breathing can calm down a stressed body. It can help you be in the moment, become more mindful. It also can specifically, when you're exhaling, it can calm down both the body and the mind. When you're anxious, we do tend to breathe differently. We take rapid, short breaths. And when you do that, it impacts our supply of how our oxygen is coming in our body and carbon dioxide is going out. And then it causes dizziness, a rapid heart rate, all those kind of symptoms that then activate the stress response. And then thus you have a lot of those symptoms that take place that don't allow you to breathe well as think through. But basically, because of that, it contributes to anxiety attacks, to other kinds of panic attacks that you may have. The American Institute of Stress recommends 20 to 30 minutes of belly breathing each day to help reduce anxiety and stress. We do a lot of things that take 20 to 30 minutes in our day. You know, we take walks, we watch Netflix, we're on social media. It might be a neat idea just to try, even start with 10 minutes to try to build toward that simple activity that's free and that we have control over. And we talked about this in the last workshop of just kind of understanding how this affects the stress response and why breathing can change the outcome. So the up arrows are, that's activating your stress response, that fight or flight. So whether it's something that you're really threatened by or afraid of, or just your busy day, like Ms. Drain was talking about, just running around, busy day, big tests, big conversation with a friend you have to have, whatever it is you're starting to be elevated and that fight or flight is activated. It's accelerating your, what they call the sympathetic nervous system. And thus then all the heart rate that starts to change, and then you're no longer thinking about what's going on. You're just thinking about how you're feeling. The arrows going down are showing how the relaxation is activated, or what they call the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's where it's putting the brakes on your nervous system. So it's moving you toward that relaxation space. That takes a while. It doesn't always just happen. And the red line you see going from left to right is where we may develop more of a chronic stress response, where it's like jammed on. So we need other things like deep breathing to implement. And when you deep breathe, it actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it actually activates that relaxation response. So, okay, great. So now we're gonna do a demonstration for both deep breathing as well as progressive muscle relaxation. And Ms. Drain's gonna demonstrate for us. But before I get started, just a note about, these are just a few samples, just a few examples of different ways that you can deep breathe. There's several of them, as well as progressive muscle relaxation is just one of several different activities. So this is just tapping in to give you a little taste of it, and hopefully afterwards we're gonna give you some resources so you can work toward discovering some other ones that just fit for you. So, I'm going to ask everyone here in the audience, as well as Ms. Drain, but as well as everyone virtually, get comfortable, sit in your chair, notice how you're sitting, whether you're sitting with both feet on the ground or you're crossing your legs. Notice how your back feels, notice your arms, shoulders, if your jaw is clenched. Just kind of notice those things as you're seating. If you're not comfortable, feel free to rearrange and get comfortable. And just notice your breath. A lot of times we don't pay attention to our breath. It's attached to us, we do it, we don't notice it. Just notice your breathing. Notice if it's fast, if it's slow. Just breathe for a minute. Okay, so step 2. Take a belly breath or take a deep breath. A helpful way to do this is by putting your hand on your stomach so that you can notice the rise and fall of your stomach. If you're at home and you want to do this, you could be sitting in a chair as well, or you could be lying down. If you have young children, have them join in, have them bring a stuffed animal, and they can use the stuffed animal to show how their stomach's rising and falling. So take a deep breath, expand your lungs, release, take a second deep breath, and just notice. So number 3, you're going to inhale through your nose, and you're going to exhale with your out breath through your mouth. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. One more time. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. It's kind of different. We're not always noticing the nose and mouth, but this is a more complete breath. I want you guys to take each of these 3 things that we just talked about, noticing your breath, doing belly breathing, using your hand on your stomach, and inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. And we're going to do what we call square breathing. Again, it's one of many activities to do breathing. I'll narrate along, and I'll start in the upper left of the square. This is something that you can actually take, or you can trace with you wherever you are. It's kind of a nice little technique. I'm going to count to 4 to breathe in, and I'm going to ask you to hold your breath for 4, and then I'm going to count 4 for you to breathe out, and then hold it for 4. And we'll do 2 rounds. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. We'll start again. And remember, just trying to use all those different features. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. This is something, when you do it, you can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just spend some time. I don't know any feedback about how it feels, because I think part of what I hear a lot of times is it takes a while to get used to learning. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth, doing a big belly breath. But feel free to share if you want. Okay, so we're going to go on to demonstration 2, which is the progressive muscle relaxation. So let me give a little description first, and then we'll do it. It's an exercise that can help reduce stress and anxiety for both your mind and your body by progressively tensing relaxing muscle groups, and then relaxing them. So tensing them, relaxing them. It can provide immediate relief, but it's definitely recommended to practice to get more comfortable with it. You'll tense each muscle group, but not to the point of straining, and then you'll suddenly release the tension to feel that muscle relax. If you have injuries or pain or just discomfort, feel free to skip that area that we're talking about, okay? So again, make yourself comfortable. Sitting, just kind of rearrange if you need to. If you're home, sit or lie down, whatever is most comfortable. And if you're home, make sure that it's quiet, there's no distractions, and encourage all of you to turn off your phones or other devices. One thing too, I think Ms. Drain mentioned this, it's easy for your mind to wander when you do this kind of activity. Just notice the thought if it comes through and just try to refocus. It's not a big deal. It takes time to kind of stay zoned in on what you're doing. Don't be so focused too on getting to that relaxed state. Again, it takes practice and you'll get there, but this is a process too of just getting used to it. So we're going to start out, I'm going to start out with a little breathing. We're not using kind of the square breathing format, but we're just kind of just follow along as I speak about the breathing. Okay. And you can either close your eyes or keep them open, focus on a particular area, whatever you're comfortable with. Become aware of your breathing and notice how your stomach rises and falls with each breath. Now take a long, deep breath through your nose, all the way down to your stomach. Hold the breath for just a moment, and then exhale through your mouth. Allow your breath to carry away all stress and tension as the air floods out of your lungs. Take another slow breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs completely. Hold it for a moment and release the breath through your mouth. Empty your lungs completely. Take a third breath. Hold it for a minute and then let go. Feel that your body has already undergone a change. The tension in your body has begun to loosen and subside. Now let your breathing rhythm return to normal and relax. Again, we're going to be tensing various muscles throughout your body, but we're going to do it without straining. And you just want to contract each muscle firmly but gently. And as a reminder again, if you feel uncomfortable, just skip an area if it's not comfortable. So let's begin. Tighten the muscle in your forehead by raising your eyebrows as high as you can. Hold for about 5 seconds and abruptly release, feeling that tension fall away. Now, smile widely, feeling your mouth and cheeks tense. Hold for about 5 seconds and release, appreciating the softness in your face. Next, tighten your eye muscles by squinting your eyelids tightly shut. Hold for about 5 seconds and release. Gently pull your head back as if to look at the ceiling. Hold for about 5 seconds and release, feeling the tension melting away. Now feel the weight of your relaxed head and neck sink. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Let go of all the stress. Breathe in and out. Now tightly without straining, clench your fists and hold this position until I say stop. Hold for about 5 seconds. Stop and release. Now, flex your biceps. Feel that buildup of tension. You may even visualize that muscle tightening. Hold for about 5 seconds and release, enjoying that feeling of limpness. Breathe in and out. Now tighten your triceps by extending your arms out and locking your elbows. Hold for about 5 seconds and release. Now lift your shoulders up as if they could touch your ears. Hold for about 5 seconds and quickly release, feeling their heaviness. Tense your upper back by pulling your shoulders back, trying to make your shoulder blades touch. Hold for about 5 seconds and release. Tighten your chest by taking a deep breath in. Hold for about 5 seconds and exhale, blowing out all the tension. Now tighten the muscles in your stomach by sucking in. Hold for about 5 seconds and release. Gently arch your lower back. Hold for about 5 seconds. Relax. Feel the limpness in your lower body, letting go of the tension and stress. Hold for about 5 seconds and relax. Tighten your buttocks. Hold for about 5 seconds. Release. Imagine your hips falling loose. Tighten your thighs by pressing your knees together, as if you were holding a penny between them. Hold for about 5 seconds and release. Now flex your feet, pulling your toes towards you and feeling the tension in your calves. Hold for about 5 seconds and relax. Feel the weight of your legs sinking down. Curl your toes under, tensing your feet. Hold for about 5 seconds. Release. Now imagine a wave of relaxation slowly spreading through your body, beginning at your head and going all the way down to your feet. Feel the weight of your relaxed body. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. In and out. So this is the end of the demonstration. Sometimes it takes a minute to kind of unwind a little bit from it. This is just one sample, as I said, of one technique that you can use. I would encourage you to find more of these kinds of techniques. On the Tri-C website is Help is Here. You can just type in Help is Here, and one of those cards will show up now. And you can locate relaxation tips, and you're going to see several sections on breathing, on different activities like the one we just did, visual imageries. There's a variety of things to check out, articles, videos, as well as on that same site, look for mobile apps. You'll see under relaxation and mental wellness apps, you will see some calm relaxation types of apps if you're interested to download them. As well as definitely be sure to check out the other stress management workshops. This is the fourth of a series of 4 to assist. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dietrich and Ms. Drain. At this time, we'll open up the floor for any questions. I do have some questions here. The first one, I think, is geared towards Ms. Drain's part of the presentation. It says, how did you make yourself be mindful in the moment you were mad at the truck for cutting you off? How can I teach myself to calm down on the spot like that?
It's called being self-aware. The first thought was, oh my God, he just cut me off. That wasn't even necessary. And I got upset. But I'll give myself 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and go, okay, he's gone on about his business. You're here. Pay attention to where you are right now. Now, I did wind up catching up with him a couple times. The white truck didn't go away, but each time I diverted my attention to my driving and my experience and not think about him. It was self-care, because high blood pressure is a real concern, right? And so, yeah, that's it.
Okay. And I guess, Ms. Dietrich, is there anything that you can think of where that could be added in terms of the breathing or the relaxation techniques in a situation like that?
Sure. I mean, definitely the deep breathing at the same time that Ms. Drain is, reminding herself to calm down. The deep breathing would activate that calming mechanism. Once she started, probably climbing a bit there, it would help bring it down. And just taking a moment to do that can really make a difference. And it's another conscious effort of self-awareness.
And if I could add, I did purposefully take deep breaths at the same time.
Okay.
That was one of the things, like breathe. So just tell yourself.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, should we practice the breathing techniques on an everyday basis, or are they techniques for calming down when stressed?
I would say for both, and one thing I think that's important is some people won't believe or think that they need it if they don't feel that they're stressed, and that makes a lot of sense. But a lot of times if someone does experience a lot of stress or anxiety, the encouragement is practice when you're not feeling that way, so you can build the skill and you can be effective, and then you can institute it when you're at that heightened, that anxiety place a little more effectively. But it still helps people who may have lower stress just help a situation, a test, a conversation. It helps just to institute it into your diet.
I think too that breathing, that deep breathing, can be helpful during the day, any day. Because if you notice yourself, taking shallow breaths, even if you're unaware of a stressor or something like that, give yourself a breathing break. Not take a break from breathing. Breathe intentionally and deeply to, feel better.
Thank you. Good advice. And I like the making it a part of your diet and training yourself. We have another question in the chat. Any techniques for keeping the mind from wandering during breathing exercises?
We would say that it's natural for the mind to wander, and that's where we said gently refocus on your breath or whatever it is that you're being mindful about, and not judge, do it in a non-judgmental way, because it's normal for the mind to wander.
Right. A lot of times people get very frustrated with themselves when they're trying to practice this because of that fact. And Ms. Drain's comment just about the non-judgmental response, I think, is really valuable into just being able to notice it, let it pass, move on, and continue on this journey. It's just part of the process.
So it's just normal to maybe have to refocus a little bit. Okay.
Have you ever read a paragraph or a page in a book and said, what did I just read? Because your mind wandered. When I was in school, it would be so frustrating because I'm trying to study, but I don't know what I just read because I wasn't aware that my mind wandered, and constant battle.
I can definitely relate to that. Another question is there a certain time of day when the relaxation techniques work best?
I'm not aware of a certain time of day. I think it's a personal preference. Some people may know when they're more stressed, and whether it's the time to institute the deep breathing or at times when they're a little calmer. But either way, I'm not aware of a specific time. I think people learn their patterns in what are stressful situations, like a test or situations, driving or whatever they might be.
I think after a long day and a lot of input from social media, people's voices, just talking, engaging with people, I think, and I find it helpful and relaxing in preparation for going to sleep. The research says turn off all electronics like 2 hours or an hour before you go to sleep. Right. Who does that? But no, it is a good practice. And I'm trying to get better at that. But I think after a long day and you have some quiet space, that's a good time to practice that deep breathing and mindfulness.
What about with starting the day? Would you say that maybe practicing when you wake up, would that maybe kind of set the tone for the day at all, or?
Definitely. I think that a lot of people have a practice of yoga or mindfulness or journaling, and they can incorporate the breathing. It's a great way to set the tone for the day.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from our live audience? Does anyone here have any questions? That appears to be the end of our virtual questions, and I'll give a couple seconds just in case someone just typed something.
I have a question. This isn't related so much to what you guys discussed this week, which is great. These tips are all really great, but kind of more so maybe what you were touching on last week. I know that, the advice is like try to not take in too much social media because, it can stress you out. It's like the main form of news for a lot of younger people, and you see all these terrible things, or like, the social pressure attached to it. But, I think it's also hard to totally cut yourself off of it because, again, it can be the main source of like information and news, and also like, especially younger people, it's just like a form of social connection. So like, how do you strike the balance of not consuming too much of it, but not totally cutting yourself off from it either? Like, I think it's probably unrealistic to totally be completely isolated from social media, which might be a goal for all of us, but like, how do you strike the right balance with all
Right.
that stuff?
Good question.
Go ahead. I mean, we'll
Okay.
both have something.
I think that we need to try to balance the amount of negative and positive social interaction, because in these times of, social distancing, we spend a lot of time in isolation. That can cause a lot of stress, anxiety, depression. So we want to connect with people, but how can we do that in a positive way? And how much of the negative, when we look at the numbers for, COVID, and we hear about bad things happening in the news and the political climate and all of these things, how does it make you feel? And if you've heard it and you have the information, let that go and intentionally interact with people on a positive note. Have a Zoom party with friends, or, my mom and I, we use Google Duo to actually talk to each other, when a time when I couldn't go over to her house and see her. So go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, those are awesome ideas. I think finding a balance is a couple things. One of them is thinking about how to kind of put a time cap on it, where I'm going to allow myself so long. So you can enjoy yourself. There's a lot of positive things out of social media too. It's not all negative. But having a cap where you'll allow yourself that treat or whatever, as well as kind of adding on to what Ms. Drain said about looking at, notice the things that are positive and negative, and because there is a lot of negative social media. You may be on Facebook a lot or Instagram, one of those that you just feel bad after you've finished being on it, and that might be a sign that it's okay to take a break. But just kind of noticing and a little deeper how you're using it. And also, I've had people, like for time management activities, calculate time wasters, and that could be considered one, but it's amazing how many hours someone may be spending on social media, and that's a good visual awareness of saying, wow, I'm spending 15 hours a day, whatever it is, on social media.
That is a lot of social
To break
media.
it up a little differently.
That would be gaming.
Well, if that is the end of the questions from our live audience, you do. Oh, come on up, please.
It's on? Oh, okay. Just asking, like, what would you give, like, with certain type of tips for maybe an overwhelmed student, people who have a lot of anxiety around school and homework? Like, what type of tips would you give that person? What's it?
Want to go or me, whatever you want. Okay. Well, a couple different things. If homework or studying is overwhelming, one of the things is looking at how do you break some of that information down, okay? Like if it's, I got so much homework to do, where am I going to start? I have 5 things due this weekend. How do you break it up into smaller pieces? But regarding the stress of that, because that's what you're really asking, is you can incorporate, whether it's the deep breathing or some kind of activity. I don't want to deter from the fact that some of the stress management for people, it might be deep breathing, but it also can be taking a walk or spending time with your dog or with a person. So kind of knowing if you're overwhelmed, how to take some breaks, and whether you're doing some stress management or doing something that's comforting. Sometimes people like soothing activities, like maybe taking a bath or a shower, something sensory. So that could be for that overwhelmed feeling. If it's about a test, I think it's a combination of making sure you're taking breaks, but also looking at the thoughts you're saying about it, because I do think the thoughts feed in a lot and can be very powerful to us feeling we're not capable or we can't complete this well. Could be the night before a test and we're thinking about all of that, but being able to stop it, it's like not just reframing, you've got to be able to stop yourself and say, enough, you know, and kind of incorporate some of those stress management tools in there, but also just focus on what you can do, you know, on a test, like, you know, I'm going to work on these problems so that you're not looking at all the things you don't know about whatever it is that you're doing. You break it up into pieces.
To add to that, I would suggest you look at your environment and try to control your environment as much as possible, clear your space. I used to, at one point, go to Panera Bread, when they let you go in there with a laptop and don't throw you out. And, you know, I positioned myself by where the fireplace was and then just sit there and I'm just focusing on that assignment or whatever I'm doing. Because if I'm at home and I'm looking at everything that needs to be done, cleaned, and everything else, it's overwhelming. It's like that diagram, mindful, and I wasn't able to just focus on my whatever the task was. Does that help, or are you good? It's easier said than done, though.
Thank you so much for those tips and the great advice and the demonstration today. That was very relaxing. Do we have any other questions? Okay. There are no other questions in the chat. Thank you very much, Ms. Drain and Ms. Dietrich, for your presentation and your time. And thank you very much to our audience that came out as well today. Thank you.
Thank you.